So John Ford's The Three Godfathers from 1948. This is his take on Peter B. Kyne's 1913 novel. And it might just be one of the director's most openly symbolic westerns. It wears its parable-like structure right on its sleeve, but it never feels too heavy-handed. And it features rough, sometimes goofy humour, jaw-dropping desert landscapes, and three outlaws who slowly and almost accidentally start developing a conscience. Now, the film is at once a classic western and a small, intimate morality tale. And it's that balance which makes it well worth a watch, I think. Let's take a look at why a lesser-known John Wayne western should be on your classic Christmas movie watch list.
First thing seems to me we ought to give Robert William Pedro a bath, don't you think so?
A bath? I wasn't figuring on that at all. I was thinking about feeding him. Well, I'm for tubbing him, all right. Of course, sooner or later, we gotta swab him down.
Oh, but he's such a little fellow, Bob.
So 1948's The Three Godfathers has a setup that's nice and simple. We have three bandits, Robert Hightower, played by the Duke himself, John Wayne, Pedro Pete Fuerte, played by Pedro Armendáriz, and William the Abilene Kid Kearney, a fresh-faced Harry Carey Jr. They all ride into the town of Welcome, Arizona. So far, so classic Ford territory. Men on horseback drifting into a little dusty town. The sheriff here, Pearly Buck Sweet, played by Ward Bond, is friendly but quite sharp, and he's someone who instantly sizes up trouble and naturally knows these boys are bad news. Now, things kick right into gear when the trio proceeds to rob the local bank, and naturally it all goes sideways. But their escape into the desert is where the movie starts to really find its rhythm. They stumble across a wrecked wagon, a dying young mother and her newborn baby. Now, it's in that instant that these three roughnecks are forced very reluctantly into becoming babysitters. The situation could almost be comical. Hardened criminals suddenly burdened with a newborn in one of the harshest environments imaginable. And yet it never strays too far into comedy. Ford handles it with a light touch, but there are still elements of suspense and danger thrown in. And yes, the biblical symbolism is front and centre here almost immediately. Ford doesn't shy away from it. Three wayward dudes wandering the desert with a newborn, heading toward a place literally called Welcome. The parallels are quite clear. It's basically a Christmas story in Western boots, but Ford keeps the film from tipping into pure sentimentality. And John Wayne here in the role of Hightower plays it all with a surprising gentleness, for him at least. This isn't the all bluster, almost mythical persona that we often see from him in this era. Instead, there's a subtle and quiet quality to him. He's still the larger-than-life Wayne, but with a soft, reflective edge. Now, Pedro Armendáriz, meanwhile, brings a warm humour and natural charisma to Pete. This guy had quite an uncanny ability to make even lightly sketched characters feel three-dimensional and fully alive, and here it pays off in moments that could easily have felt like padding. And Harry Carey Jr., credited as making his debut here, although by 1948, I'm sure that he'd already appeared in a handful of minor roles. He does bring a tender-hearted energy that hits surprisingly hard. His scenes carry a real emotional weight here, which is testament to Ford's penchant for casting people that he considered his extended movie-making family, actors he trusted to bring authenticity to every frame and do exactly what they were told. Now, once this trio accepts their unlikely mission of protecting the baby, the movie transforms into a kind of dusty road movie / odyssey. The men lose water, lose hope, and not to put too fine a point on it, lose a lot of their outlaw swagger. Ford and cinematographer Winton C. Hock shoot the desert as both breathtaking and punishing. This isn't Monument Valley in its heroic sun-drenched best, a la The Searchers. It's more of a wasteland designed to test these guys' endurance. Yet Ford never lets the harshness completely dominate the movie. He would always find a little bit of space for humour, arguments over feeding the baby, makeshift lullabies, and the trio fumbling through basic infant care.
And he ain't gonna wear that.
Now this is something. This is really something. Canned milk.
That thick stuff ain't fit to squirtin' coffee.
And it's that balancing act of comedy and life or death stakes that keeps the film both engaging and moving at a steady pace. Now, you can't honestly say that sentimentality doesn't get a little bit thick at sometimes. It does, of course, but that's part of the movie's charm. Ford's heroes could be both tough as nails one moment and deeply sensitive the next, and he embraces both qualities. By the time Hightower does finally limp into Welcome with the baby, the film's shifted from a Wild West crime story into a fully fledged parable. But Ford's very careful to avoid turning the whole thing into a bowl of sugar. Now, compared with Ford's larger, near mythical westerns, The Searchers, Liberty Valance, How the West Was Won, The Three Godfathers feels smaller and cosier. Its emotional stakes are personal, but not epic, and it's closer in tone to films like Wagon Master or She Wore a Yellow Ribbon, where acts of human kindness and courage matter more than sweeping, huge, epic narratives. Another part of the film's appeal for me is the honesty and straightforwardness of it all. There's no irony, no cynical, tough guy grit added just for effect. The movie genuinely wants viewers to believe that even dusty, half-competent criminals can rise to the occasion when life hands them a crying baby in the middle of nowhere.
That's in the book, too. There was 3 wise men come from the east, wasn't there? 3 wise men. I'm one of them.
I'm betting on you, kid. All right, Pete, which way is Jerusalem?
Why, that-a-way, Bob.
It's an earnestness that feels increasingly rare today, and it's central to why the film works so well as a Christmas Western, I think. Harsh sun, dry humour, but with a surprisingly warm heart, all rolled into one. Now, this is a John Ford joint, of course, so visually the film remains gorgeous. Ford did have a mastery of wide open spaces, and here the desert's both beautiful and an adversary. The images of 3 men trudging through the wasteland, baby bundled precariously in a saddlebag, carry that mythic quality. Ford was fresh off My Darling Clementine here and Fort Apache, and still had a half dozen masterpieces ahead of him. Yet even at this stage, his ability to craft images that feel timeless and symbolic and stuff them into a Wild West adventure is quite evident. Now, incidentally, this film's been made a few times. This is a remake of Edward Lesaint's 1916 silent version, which starred Harry Carey Sr., adding another layer of continuity and homage to Ford's cinematic legacy. The Duke himself was in an especially prolific period during 1948. That year alone saw him in The Three Godfathers, Wake of the Red Witch, Red River, and Fort Apache. Crazy. It's easy for a film like The Three Godfathers to get lost under the shadow of more celebrated works, The Searchers, Rio Bravo, The Quiet Man. Yet it deserves attention. It's a quieter film than those, perhaps, but no less rewarding for viewers willing to slow down and appreciate it. Now, for me, ultimately, what lingers after watching The Three Godfathers isn't the biblical imagery or even the specific plot events, to be honest. It's the simple idea of these 3 tough guys trying, awkwardly, but honestly, to do the right thing. The film doesn't aim to be a towering masterpiece, and it doesn't need to be. Its honesty and warmth are enough. Now, the Ford's belief in human decency, even from flawed, dusty, half-baked men, is on show here as much as it is in any of his masterworks. The Three Godfathers may not always get the credit it deserves, but it remains a quite fascinatingly unique gem in John Ford's enormous cinematic canon. Thanks for watching.
A donkey tied, and a colt with her. Loose them, and bring them unto me.